This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
Now, prepare yourselves for a Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels special edition. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, Scoundrels and Star Wars fans, and welcome to episode 67.1, a Scoundrels special edition. On this episode, we will be reviewing the latest episode of Resistance, Signal from Sector 6. I'm Dennis, and tonight I am joined by my friend and co-host Darth Taxus. Finally, Taxus, we get you on a Resistance review show.
Yeah, right? I mean, oh, man. I mean, there's been so much dark side things that I've been involved with. And sorry, kids out there in the listening audience. It's just been insane, personally. But I'm really... it's been driving me nuts that I haven't been able to get on and talk about this show. And in fact, it's been driving me even more nuts not listening to anything you've done, Dennis. And I keep hearing good things about it, but I just didn't want to go back and I didn't want to listen to them because I didn't want to spoil anything for me. So I finally binged everything this week.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in just a second. Unfortunately, our other friend and co-host, Jay Krebs, can't join us tonight. It's a really busy time of year, and her schedule just won't allow for a podcast this week. But before we get into Signal from Sector... that's a tongue twister. Signal from Sector 6.
Right.
Try and say that 5 times fast.
How about the Starship, Sabers, and Scoundrels Signal from Sector 6?
Ooh, you're good.
Thank you.
But before we get into the episode, now that you're all caught up, what's your overall opinion of Resistance so far?
So... You know, I'm really digging it. The thing is, does it feel kiddie, to a certain extent? Yeah, of course, it does. But if you go back and you watch like the first episode of Rebels and stuff, that kind of felt kiddie too, At some point, my youngest daughter, who's not really plugged into Star Wars, she came down and said, "Hey, what's this? Oh, is this Star Wars? Oh, hey, what is this a movie?" Like, no, it's a show. Okay. Is that Poe Dameron? And she got excited and started watching it. And to be honest with you, she kind of got sucked in because of the art style a little bit. So yeah, I was impressed by that. I do like the art a lot. Of course, I'm kind of an anime fan. So at first I wasn't seeing the anime so much, but then as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh yeah, I see it there. And some of the more funnier things, some of the balancing act things, like on the last episode where he basically wrecks, what was that, the stabilizer or the
compressor?
The compressor, or yeah.
Compensator.
Yeah, the compensator, that's right.
Both.
That's right. And then I always forget this character's name, the mechanic.
Which one? Tam,
yeah. And she's like tossing wrenches at him, and... You remember how we talked about, like, I could see, like, if they do the whole, like, weird over-the-top anime, where the eyes are bugging out and, like, there's, like, exclamation marks and stuff over somebody's head, and they're like, what do you mean? Or something like that, then yes, no, that would not work. But I feel like in Kaz's movements and, like, trying to avoid getting hit by those things, it was very comical in that anime style. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Especially when she connected with him. That's good. Sure. So I think that they found a really good balance between trying to use a style similar to anime, but couch it in a way that it still feels like it's not taking you out of the story. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I've had as I've said on previous episodes, I've had an issue with some of the humor as the way as it's come across in this series. And I'm going to sound like a broken record, and I apologize. But, for instance, on his first attempt at spying, Kaz is tiptoeing down the middle of the street in broad daylight.
Okay, right.
Or when Niku gets electrocuted, he does the Looney Tunes style, spasmodic, you can see his bones as he's being shocked type thing in that one episode. Those are the type of thing. And there's a moment in this episode that we'll discuss that kind of bothers me too. But overall, I do like the animation style. See, it doesn't stand out as anime to me. Now, I don't watch that much anime to begin with, but I do like this style. It seems very refined. It seems very crisp. I can see where if someone was really attached to the Clone Wars of the Rebels style, how this would be a bit jarring if you didn't watch any other animated shows.
Sure.
But it's kind of got a like I said, I use that word crisp, but I was watching some of my kids' shows with them over the past few days, and they don't really have that.
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
It's almost like what's that?
I understand what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, it's almost like they do I could see this actually having been computer generated, although it looks much more hand drawn. It's very precise in the way they do it. So anyway, there's that. But let's go ahead and dive into this episode
real quick before we do. I just want to I have one point about that. So to me, the anime style, I always feel like it looks more Rebels, but like you said, it's sharper, it's crisper, and that's probably like, I don't know. It almost feels like the entire thing's wrapped in saran wrap. Do you know what I mean? Like it's shiny.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's kind of
the saran wrap. That was interesting analogy.
It's like you take Rebels and like wrap it in something and makes it look all shiny. You know what I mean? Okay. But yeah, that's okay. So have you ever seen The Last Airbender? Any of those movies, shows? Okay. Just watch one episode of that. I don't care whichever one. You just fire them all up, or one of them at any point in the season, and tell me what you think about that compared to this. Because I know Filoni is involved in both. You know what I mean? And sure. I feel like The Last Airbender kind of is more anime style than this is, but I see similarities between the two of them. Let me say that.
Okay. All right. Well, sound the spoiler alert, because at this point we're going to dive into Signal from Sector 6.
All right.
Got a bad time. But anyways, this starts off with Yeager waking up Kaz, who is not a morning person, early for what he claims to be a salvaging job. This immediately raises Tam's suspicions, because there was no such salvaging job on the work schedule. So let me ask you, Taxus, because this is a point I've been bringing up in these reviews. What do you think of Tam? Because she is, on the one hand, friendly towards Kaz. He's part of the crew, and so she's going to treat him as such. But she does not buy his story at all, that he is a trained mechanic and that he's there to be a mechanic. I don't necessarily think that she thinks he's playing a scam, but she is suspicious of it.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, here we go. Let's say this. What if a pilot came in and somebody said, "Hey, Dennis, this is your new attorney." You know what I mean? Or he came in and said, "Hey, Taxus, this is your new staff accountant." You know what I mean? She knows her trade. She knows her business, and so she knows that he knows absolutely nothing. So instantly that raises suspicions in her mind. It's like, why are you here? What's the purpose? What significance and value do you hold? Because obviously you're an idiot when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, and he doesn't do anything. He hasn't done anything to impress her either. I mean, he couldn't even get the coffee machine to work in this episode.
That was funny. That kind of reminded me of many mornings, actually.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see the reckoning that's going to happen when she learns the truth about who Kaz is.
Yeah,
working for the Resistance. I have this feeling that we're headed towards a moment where she's finally going to accept him as a mechanic and part of this team and part of this crew. And then the truth is going to come out that he is a spy, and that's what he's been doing there the entire time. And there's going to be that sense of betrayal, which is going to cause a problem. It just that to me, that seems like that's where it's going. Or suddenly she's going to have this moment of realizations, like all along, this is what. Everything makes sense now.
Well, but she wants to be a pilot, right? We saw in previous episodes, but just like her old ex-Brodian pilot friend said,
Phazon.
Yeah, Phazon. He was like, I saw your ship out there, and I realized that's not you. You know what I mean? So, right. I mean, they got their hotshot pilot, right? And I feel like in the future, there's going to be a little tension between them. Maybe it's starting to build because she's a better mechanic than she probably is a pilot, but she's just not willing to accept that about herself yet. Does that make sense?
Well, that's a possibility. I hadn't considered that. But I don't know. I get the feeling she actually is a good pilot. We just haven't had an opportunity to see her.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
At all. I mean, the Fireball's been wrecked. Kaz took it out. That's the only time we got to see it do its thing.
Right.
He crashed it on that one trip. And so we'll see. Kaz is certainly a trained pilot by the Republic, but let's move things along here.
Okay.
Yeager's story was just a cover so that they could go rendezvous with Poe Dameron. Poe meets them with a pair of X-wings in mid-flight. Now, this is the part that kind of annoyed me with the animation.
All right.
Before we get to that, Poe's got these 2 X-wings. Another BB droid, CB-23, is piloting one, and Poe's got the other. And the idea is that BB-8 is going to jump into Poe's X-wing, and Kaz is going to get the other X-wing, and they're going to go off and do something. But they have to. Kaz has to board the X-wing mid-flight.
Yeah.
And so he basically walks the plank and falls face first into the cockpit.
Yeah.
I mean, really? I mean, the guy is supposed to be a trained pilot. He's supposed to be good at this stuff. Was that necessary? I mean, as soon as I saw that, I was like, what is he, Wile E. Coyote?
Right?
That's how Wile E. Coyote would get into the cockpit of an X-wing.
Well, to be honest with you, I was also thinking to myself, okay, come on. It's Star Wars. Basically, today, in today's world, we literally can refuel aircraft in the middle of flight. You know what I mean? And it's a very precise, complicated maneuver, yet humans are able to do this stuff. So you got a droid piloting the X-wing, right? You've got, Yeager, piloting the ship and everything. And yet, for some reason, they can't just lift the X-wing up a little bit to where he can just kind of hop in, I mean, or something.
Well, how many times in Rebels and Clone Wars did we see ships dock next to, or, the couple at some point?
Yeah.
I have to think that was available to them, but they decided to go this complicated route with this, which just seems to...
overly complicated. I agree with you.
I don't want to be a canon nerd, but I mean, is this really necessary? Was this really what we needed to add to the galaxy?
Right.
But anyway, so finally, Yeager was not really enthusiastic about this whole thing. He's not enthusiastic about Kaz's mission to begin with, but he likes Poe, so he set this whole thing up with the cover of it being a salvaging mission.
Yep.
Or job. So Poe and Kaz take off, and they begin discussing Kaz's mission. Poe asks Kaz about, his report that Doza is going to make a deal with the First Order. Now, this is a part of the episode that I really liked. There's 2 admissions by Kaz here. He says he doesn't know what the First Order wants with Colossus Station or what they get out of the deal, which is something I've been commenting on for the past few weeks. There's something more to Colossus Station other than the fact that it's just like this refueling station out on the outer rim, near Wild Space or the unknown regions, and this kind of highlights that there's something special about Colossus Station that the First Order is interested in, to the point that they're like engaging Kragan's pirates to help attack it and to try and probe it. So I don't know. Do you have a take on that yet?
I'm not sure, but I feel like Doza knows what's up. You know what I mean? There's a secret there. I got nothing on that, but I think you're right. I mean, the First Order knows something that the Resistance does not know. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
It may not be the station. It may be something on the planet, and
Might be.
you need the station in order to get to whatever that is. But I feel like at some point we're going to get a reveal there, and then it's going to be obvious in hindsight. But everyone's going to go back through all these other episodes and pick up the clues, and put the whole, and then be able to reverse engineer what the solution is. But so there's that. But then the other thing Kaz fesses up to is that he wasn't trained as a spy. No kidding.
Obviously,
he was trained as a pilot by the Republic Navy, and so I like that he's kind of admitting his shortcoming here. It's like one of the most mature things he's done so far in this series. He's got all the will and the gumption to go and try and be a spy, but he had no clue what he was doing. And in fact, he floundered at it for the first few episodes. And it's been the last couple where he's really gotten that right, where he's just he's keeping his ears open. And when he picks up on some tidbit of information, he kind of investigates that, as opposed to sneaking around trying to eavesdrop on everybody. Right. Which was completely ineffective.
Right. He figures out the opportunity he has and the tools he has at the time to be able to glean the information, because you're not always going to have like a wire on somebody or anything like that. I mean, that's one of the things I liked about the episode before, or the High Tower, right? Where he snuck the comm link in to that, but obviously it was, he screwed up because he left the channel open and feedback. So I really applauded that, because it probably really happened. So
Well, yeah, I agree with you. I like that moment from that episode, but that's the second time in the series in just about a half dozen episodes where they had to rely on feedback. It's a big plot element
That's true.
of the show.
That's true.
So, I mean, I don't want to sound too harsh, but anyways, there it is.
We rely on feedback, listener feedback.
That's true.
That's true.
Different feedback. But
you know.
So, in a moment that obviously will become important later in this episode, Poe teaches Kaz a new maneuver, the backwards tail slide. And of course, Kaz can't get it right the first few times he's trying it, and he's annoying CB23 in the process. The moment seemed a bit obvious that, okay, he's not going to get it. But when he has to pull it off, which we'll find later in the episode, he's going to be able to do so.
Right.
But
that was just like me in the 90s. I could not get that move down, but then whenever I had to pull it off and dance off, I did it. The backwards tail slide.
Well, of course, you are the most interesting Sith. So, but, I will say this. It was nice to see the X-Wings. It was nice to see Poe Dameron.
Yeah. That felt good.
They're doing some flying. I mean, there'll be a even more important moment with these guys in the cockpit later in this episode. But it was, I've made the comparison previously that Colossus Station kind of reminds me of Deep Space Nine from earlier seasons of that series, where they were just kind of always stuck in the same place.
Yeah.
But now, they were able to get away from the station and go have an adventure, kind of an away mission of sorts.
With Defiant, right? I mean,
exactly. Yeah. And so, this was X-Wings this time, and Poe had brought the X-Wings along because he knew that Kaz was a pilot, and every once in a while you just got to go fly. And I don't know, I was kind of hoping Poe was going to give Kaz some money because he's just so
I know, right?
But so before long, they get a distress beacon, and they find a freighter that has been attacked by pirates. They do a quick scan, and they detect life signs on board, so they decide to investigate. In addition, one of the pirate craft is docked on the top of the freighter, and there's another one that they say has been wrecked, but I don't know. It's kind of just floating nearby the freighter. It didn't look like it was in too bad a shape.
Yeah. I wasn't sure about that.
So I thought this was with Jay that I was talking about this, but I know you're an old Legends guy, and you especially know a lot about the ships, but were you familiar with the concept of the uglies? When it comes to ships that were clobbered together from parts of other ships?
Yeah, did they kind of do something with this also in Poe Dameron?
A little bit, yeah, they did. In the middle of that comment, that's a good point. Yeah. But yeah, the pirate ships here are kind of put together from like the wings of TIE fighters, the cockpit of an old Jedi starfighter. One of the key ship has parts from an Imperial shuttlecraft and such. But I was just going to ask you what your overall opinion of the pirate craft was.
Actually, I thought they looked good. I mean, I could tell that they were borrowed from different pieces of things, but it didn't look weird. You know what I mean? It didn't look jarring. It wasn't like let's take a Porsche SUV with like 1957 Chevy fenders. You know what I mean?
Right.
Stuck onto them. Yeah. I mean, they look good the way they designed them. So, and
I thought they were pretty sleek.
Do what now?
I thought they were pretty sleek.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they look like formidable attack craft. Let me put it that way. Especially with the TIE fighter like blaster cannons. Yeah.
Well, so they get to the freighter, and once they're on board, they see two pirates get eaten by what we will later learn is a Kowakian ape-lizard.
Yeah, wow.
There are also several Kowakian monkey lizards running around. Okay, we learned a couple things here. One, Poe hates Kowakian monkey lizards. Mm-hmm. And we don't immediately see this ape. It's only later that the ape comes into view, and it is a Kowakian monkey lizard on steroids.
It's like the bane of Kowakian monkey lizards, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you see the monkey lizards and you compare them to what you would think of as the average size of a monkey on Earth, the ape-lizard is the equivalent of a gorilla.
And I'd say bigger, man. It's like an elephant. I mean, it's huge, right?
Yeah. Well, there was a great image of the one sticking its head through the door that remained, here's Johnny. But this thing, it ate two of the pirates. And these were pirates that we saw in the episode Triple Dark, the Trandoshan, and I can't remember what the other one was off the top of my head. But, I mean, they didn't pull any punches there. Now, granted, they were eaten off screen. But this thing was huge, and it was intense.
Yeah, that actually made me really nervous. Hearing it through the ship and stuff too. I almost felt like this should have been the Halloween episode.
Oh, yeah.
To a certain extent, because there was a lot of mystery and a lot of subtle horror behind it. And then you have the pranksters of the monkey lizards doing all the things they're doing, you know?
They remind you of Gremlins by any chance?
Yes, they do. That's exactly right. And so, okay, we're not here yet, but at some point, Poe's trying to like pull them all off of Kaz, and he accidentally like pumps a couple of rounds into one that's sitting in the ceiling.
Oh yeah, it's like you just looked at my notes. I highlighted that. Yeah, just to skip ahead because we've used up a lot of time on some of our topics here, but in short, there's none of the crew is left on this freighter,
right?
And they end up finding a life sign inside a crate, and it's a Miralon woman. She's got purple skin with green diamond pattern that goes from beyond her hairline that goes down her nose. So she's unconscious. So Kaz is carrying her off. She and Poe split up a little bit. Poe draws off the ape-lizard as Kaz tries to get away from the monkey lizards and get back to their X-Wings. Eventually, they rendezvous again just at the point where Kaz could no longer carry the woman.
That was funny.
And then, he's being attacked by the monkey lizards, and Poe wanders up and it's like, all right, that's enough. And he shoots twice in the ceiling, trying to scare
like a warning
him off,
shot, yeah.
And then one just falls down dead. And the look on Poe's face was just like, oh, dang.
I didn't mean to do that.
What I meant to do.
I know, right? and I think I even saw smoke coming from the body as it dropped.
Yeah. And the other one just like raises his hand and runs off. As much as I've criticized the humor in this series so far, that was one of the most priceless moments.
That was funny
so far.
That was funny.
That was well done.
Also, the monkey lizard that got Poe's blaster earlier. It was like taking shots at him. I thought that was really great. I thought that was hilarious.
That's what made me think of Gremlins.
Yes,
with these, because they get into everything. They kept harassing them. They ran off with a gun for a little while and make gentle nuisances of themselves. And then BB-8 at one point, a shocking one with his little electric.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was good.
Thing. So they do get back to their X-Wings. Kaz stashes the unconscious woman in hers in the back. I didn't know that you could put two people in the cockpit of an X-Wing.
Yeah, wow.
And
that must have been a trainer or something, the double seater,
Yeah, I guess. It was not obvious to me that there was room for her, but he found it. But
yes.
Before they get too far, they are attacked by pirates. As we were alluding to earlier, we get to see Poe in action again. So he takes out one of the pirates, and then in the moment that was pretty obvious, Kaz uses his new trick, the backwards tail slide, to defeat another by basically skimming by the asteroid, and then the pirate pursuing him can't pull off that maneuver and runs right into it.
Yeah,
which leaves the remaining pilots go ahead and flee at that point.
Sure.
So again, moving ahead. Poe drops off Kaz and BB-8 with Yeager, and then he and CB-23 take off with the two X-Wings. Yeager is not happy at all about bringing this unconscious woman aboard.
I called this. The moment they opened the container, I was like, I'm surprised that Dennis Slater is going to say she's a Moralian, or whatever their name is, because I didn't know they came in different skin colors like that. I thought they were all green. But
yeah, that was a surprise.
But beyond that, she's a pirate. I just
say that again.
She's a pirate. I just figured out she was the pirate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, if you paid close attention during Triple Dark, she was in that episode.
Really?
She had a helmet down over her face, so it wasn't obvious.
Oh, cool. Okay, I love that stuff. Okay, so kudos to this series for doing that. Right.
But so she wakes up and she punches Kaz straight in the nose.
That's another reason I figured out she's a pirate.
Well, she was confused. She had no idea where she was. That's the first thing she says when she was, "Where am I?" And so Kaz says, "Yeah, well, we went to the freighter and we found you by yourself." And then she's quick on her feet and she realizes, oh, they think I was a member of the crew.
Yeah.
And so she basically says, oh, the pirates raided it. And I don't have anything now. And what am I going to do? And Kaz says, no worries. We'll take you to Colossus Station. We'll get you registered and you'll be fine. And she introduces herself as Sinara. So there's some clues that she's a pirate. And some of these I got off of the episode guide on StarWars.com.
Oh.
the bottom half of her attire is scavenged from a scout trooper set of armor. If you pay attention, which I have to admit I didn't notice the first time. Second, it was the fact that she did show up in the Triple Dark piloting one of the pirate ships. And then when she gets onto the station after Kaz gets her registered, the droids there, the Guardian droids are kind of really interested in her. But Kaz gets her beyond those, and he's trying to be friendly and do the right thing. It's like, hey, no problem, we'll get you set up, and then she's like, you know what, I'm a loner, I work things out myself, goodbye. It's just kind of like,
poor Kaz.
Well, it was just like, wow, that was like not much in the way of gratitude. He didn't need to go out a date on the guy, obviously, but just a thank you, and I really appreciate this. How can I type repay you? And I'll never forget it.
She could have left him a tip or something. I mean, come on.
Doesn't need monetary. She's got no money. Just some sort of a thanks, Kaz would have been fantastic. But it was obvious she was trying to get rid of him, which just okay. But once she does get rid of Kaz, she pulls out her holo transmitter and immediately contacts Kragan.
Davy Jones.
Yeah, that's a good call there. He does look like Davy Jones, but he's a corn. And Kragan's like, what happened? You're supposed to go on that ship and take the cargo. And then she says, well, yeah, the cargo got loose and ate our crew. And so they quickly decide that she's in a great position to take advantage of this. And so she's kind of their inside man. And if you've seen a preview for the next episode, it looks like she will be setting up Colossus Station for an attack by the pirates.
By the way, I feel like the pirates are getting some help from the First Order. Just saying.
Well, they have been. They've been in contact with the First Order this entire time.
Yeah. Because
they contacted Phasma right after their attack back in the Triple Dark.
That's right. I forgot about that. I mean, because that's the tricks of tyrants. I mean, they create like unrest and instability in society so that they can come in on a white horse to rescue everybody.
Right. And then when Major Von Ray showed up with that freighter full of fuel there on the station, one of the things he told Doza is like, oh, we can help defend the station from pirates.
Sure. Yeah, it's like the mob. Yeah.
But I kind of feel like Doza knows this, that there's something going on.
Oh, he does.
But he's sharper than he lets on. But he's a smart guy. But,
so what do you think of? Okay, so he knows what Kaz is doing. I mean, do you think that's default? He kind of supports what he's doing.
Doza doesn't know that Kaz is with the Resistance. He just knows that Kaz is up to more than he claims on the station.
Right.
He also knows that Kaz is a friend of his daughter, Tora.
Sure.
So I don't know necessarily that Doza support what Kaz is doing, but he is kind of taking advantage of keeping all of his options open.
Sure. Okay.
What do you think?
I think he knows who the forces are that are vying for power in that region. I think he knows that there is he doesn't get to he doesn't become who he is without paying attention to politics, right?
Sure.
And so I feel like he knows why his station is so important. He
obviously does.
Yeah.
The rest of us just don't know.
Exactly. And I don't know, I think that once he saw the picture of Kaz climbing along the wall when he was getting shot at by the stormtroopers, he pretty much figured out what he was about. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying, but here's, I think, my response to that. I have been very critical of Kaz getting dropped into this mission as a spy when he's not been trained as was. But now, having talked with you about this over this episode, I'm beginning to wonder if that wasn't part of Leia and Poe's intent, which is if we put someone who's really a refined spy, then he's going to raise his mere presence is going to raise that type of suspicion that he's there to investigate the first order. Whereas someone like Kaz is a bit more bumbling. Who is seriously going to take him as a spy?
Totally.
And so therefore he can get away with this. I've just ended up on this station and I'm working for Yeager as a mechanic, and I'm not very good at my job. So perhaps that's it. I don't know. I'm with you. Doza is very smart. He's very with it. He's very he's very political. You know, the children from Tar, that episode, he contacted the First Order and said, "Yeah, those kids that you put a bounty on are here. And I'm telling you this in the interest of improving communication between us." He's not ready to get in bed with the First Order, so to speak, but he is willing to try and cultivate that relationship because of the potential.
Right.
And it's not necessarily in his best interest to tick them off.
He could have snapped his fingers and had all his security forces find those children.
Once he knew they were there.
Once he knew they were there,
you know,
right.
I was critical
But he didn't
of that
do that.
episode because it was awfully convenient that Kaz found out about them, and then moments later he found them on that station when they could have been anywhere in the galaxy.
Will of the Force, will of the Force, will of the Force.
Right. All right. Well, we've kind of run out of time to talk about this episode.
Sure.
So our tradition is to always kind of offer a final thought and a grade. So Taxus, what do you think?
Okay, so I had a lot of fun with this episode. I especially liked the horror elements. I liked the starfighter elements. I thought the interplay... okay, so... how awesome is... I forgot his name again. Poe Dameron.
Just say it over and then cut this part out.
I want to say the actor's name is Cassian Andor, but that's not it.
Oscar Isaac.
Thank you. Okay, so Oscar Isaac. Okay, how awesome is Oscar Isaac in transitioning to a voice actor from a actor, right?
He was really good.
It was
really
great. And I laughed. I actually laughed out loud when Kaz is trying to get Sinara's, while she's still unconscious. And he's like, "Why are you putting her down? Pick her up, or something like that." I mean, that was awesome. That was so great. So I loved that. The BB-8 and the other droid having the little CB-23. Yeah, the little relationship. I was like, that's his girlfriend.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. One, they had an entire conversation that the audience has no idea what they said.
Oh,
there in the
you
middle
could
of the episode.
tell. She was blushing. She turned her head and kind of looked down. She's like, "Oh."
But hold on. They had this conversation. We have no idea exactly what they said. You can infer, if you wanted to, what they said or what you hope they said to each other.
Sure.
But we don't know what they said. In the Poe Dameron comics, BB-8 actually had a girlfriend. Ivy, the astromech droid.
Oh, yeah.
That was just Pava's droid for a little while before she sacrificed herself. So I wasn't, after thinking about that, I wasn't so certain that this was more of a flirtatious romantic relationship between droids as it was a, hey, you're a droid supporting the Resistance, so am I, and there's not a whole lot of us, and here we are together, and BB-8 hasn't really had any droid company for a while now, that working with Kaz. So it's just kind of, so that was kind of my take on it, but
he's a little drony right now, but I support him being a BB player, not a BB-8.
Yeah. Did you see that the CB-23 originally her name was going to be BB-23, but then this was in the episode guide, but the writers decided that it was probably not a good idea to have two droids going by BB anything in the episode.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
And so they changed it to CB-23 in honor of Carrie Beck, one of the vice president at Lucasfilm, in charge of the production. So, all right. Well, so what was your grade on the episode?
Well, okay, just because BB's got game, gonna say B-.
B-? Okay, I thought the way you're talking, I thought you were gonna give a little bit better than that. But I'm gonna go with a B on this episode. I feel like, again, after the first two episodes, which I rated all in the C range, that the past couple episodes I feel like have done a little bit better job telling a story from start to finish in the 22-24 minutes that they've got.
That. Yep.
And I don't know, the first time I saw the Kowakian ape-lizard I was like, you gotta be kidding me. They just put one of these monkey lizards on steroids. But then when I read in the episode guide that it was actually a different creature, same planet, but that it was an ape-lizard, not a monkey lizard. Yeah, that it was a separate creature that they developed, and they actually put a lot of thought into its design to make it more like the equivalent of a gorilla or an ape on Earth, where the monkey lizards were the equivalent of a monkey.
All right, I get
I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I can go with that. I can roll with that. And so now I'm utterly fascinated by the ape-lizard. So that kind of elevated the rank to me. It was good to see the X-Wings again. It was good to see the mission get off of Colossus Station. I'm getting a little anxious to get on with seeing what happens in the show with the aces and our Kaz becoming an ace.
Sure.
I kind of feel like that's what this show is promoted. It was going to happen. It was about a team of ace pilots, and it's really not. It's about Kaz's mission to spy on the First Order. And so I feel like we've got a lot of episodes now that have set up a whole lot of potential for the series, and maybe it's a time to start kind of cashing in on some of that. But so that's it. That's my grade, and that's going to do it for our discussion of Signal from Sector 6. Ugh, that's still not easy to say.
I know, it's really hard. Hey, before we sign off, did you want to hear a Taxus ape-lizard?
Hey, what?
Taxus ape-lizard?
Why not?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Before we go to Taxus, why don't you fill everyone in on what you've got going on this week?
I have no clue. No, seriously. Okay, so we've got episode of the Geek Supreme coming out on Tuesday of next week, and that's our special Pilgrim episode. So everybody, be sure to tune in. I'm there with Scott Murray, Jeff McGee, and Regina Davis. And have a lot of fun doing this. I think this one's going to be a fun episode. And of course, we're going to have to talk about the passing of a very, very good, strong, maybe the most ultimate Geek Supreme ever.
That's true. Yes. All right. And although she's not with us, you can find Jay's blogs and fashion reviews over on Coffee with Kenobi. As for me, you can find my comic reviews on retrozap.com, and each month I'm talking Star Wars comics with Jovial J. Shepard on Jedi Journals. And let me just go ahead and plug what's going on in the Darth Vader series. Taxus and I are about to record another episode here that deals with Secrets of the Empire, and it's going to touch on the current story arc of Fortress Vader, or Vader's Fortress, whatever it is. And there's a lot going on there that is pretty deep, so go check that out. And I've written a lot of reviews on that recently. If you want to find us on social media, we are at SQPod on Twitter and Instagram, and on Facebook at facebook.com/SQPod. You can email us at sqpod@retrozap.com. You can follow Darth Taxus on Twitter at Darth Taxus. Jay is at Joyce Krebs, and I am at DJKVER2. Speaking of RetroZap, we are a proud part of the RetroZap.com podcast network. The network currently features more than a dozen shows covering everything from retro gaming and movies to the Animaniacs, collecting, Dune, Game of Thrones, and of course, a whole lot of Star Wars. Subscribe to the network feed and get them all in one place. That's going to do it for this Scoundrel Special Edition. We'll talk to you all soon with another edition of Starships, Sabers, and Scoundrels. Until then, may the Force be with you.